I know God.
And good morning, Concordia. I think there's a little slow. It's not that cold this morning. Well, relatively speaking, right? Relatively speaking. So welcome everyone to Concordia Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Allen. And do you know, wherever you are at on your spiritual path, we were having a conversation before that. Ron and I, we were talking about that. You don't have to convert to anything to be here. Wherever you're at on your path, you are welcome here. Please know that. You know, if you're visiting with us for the very first time, just to give you a couple little, logistics, immediately after the service, there is downstairs in our fellowship hall, there is an opportunity to get to connect with some loving people. Concordia means where many hearts come together as one. And if you are looking for a place to be connected and to be seen as who you are and to be accepted in that magnificence and to show your light in that way, you're in the right place here this morning. So there's some fellowship and some genuine hospitality downstairs. And also our practitioners, our prayer practitioners, they are... you will see them in the congregation or the audience. They are wearing the white stoles around their necks. It's yeah. Go ahead, Tracy. Go ahead. Yeah, she's like wings. It's like wings because they're all angels. But they are available for prayer immediately after the service down in our fellowship hall. You know, so as we start our service this morning, you know, turn to someone either to your left or right and just tell them how grateful you are for them here this morning. And let's have a great service.
Please join me in quiet meditation. Together, let's go within. Relax your eyes. Quiet your mind. And feel your cleansing breath. Breathe in. And release what no longer serves. In this silence, know that you are open to the healing power, presence, and inspiration of all that is in this sacred service right now. Please join me in spiritual mind treatment, in the consciousness and the conscious awareness of the one mind. The power, the purpose of this treatment is for me to know the power, the presence, and the inspiration of the infinite mind is here now and is here always with each and every one. I know there is a power and presence and an inspiration. It is infinite. It is eternal. It is omnipresent. It is absolute love and light. Wherever we are, this power, this presence, this source is. And I know this source to be God, Spirit, Soul, the soul of the universe. It is all there is. And I know that I embody. I am this essence of all there is. I am its individualization in my form and in my life. I am its power, presence, and inspiration. I know it's divine guidance and wisdom in all that I do. And as I know this truth for me, I know this truth for each one. I know that each one is of this light and of this love and of this life. Each is all that God is. And I know for each one here right now, each one knows the inspiration of sitting right here in this sacred space, together as one. Everything is one in the one mind. Each one knows the divine guidance, wisdom, intelligence that is what it is. It is here, and it's always right here. And I affirm that each one stands on the level of the absolute. Each one knows the truth of all that is. Each one knows the truth of the one mind. Each one knows the power. They feel it. They know it. Each one knows it in their soul. And I know this for them, and I know this with them. Each one thinks carefully, consciously, and constructively, knowing that each is a creator of their own life. And I know that each one knows the empowering empowerment of this presence. Each one feels it as each one moves forward on their own soul's path as they walk with the one mind, guided, infinitely, eternally guided. The inspiration is always there. And I know it can be no other way. And I stand in gratitude, joyful gratitude. I am thankful because I am at peace. And I know that for each and every one, they stand in divine peace. Peace, poise, ease, and grace in all that each one does, lives, and experiences. And knowing it is done and it is so as I say, I release my word to the law, knowing that law is love at work. It can be no other way. I say amen, and together we say, and so it is.
Good morning, I'm Terry Murphy, and I have the privilege of doing today's reading. Today's reading is about some things you know and some things you may not know. The title of it is, Did You Know? Did you know that you can ask Spirit to help you see things differently? Yes, you can. Did you know you can admit when you made a wrong decision and then seek guidance to correct it? Yes, you can. Did you know that you can challenge all negative thoughts as soon as possible and send them on their way? Yes, you can. Did you know you can stop sad, angry, and fearful feelings just by telling yourself, I choose to stop this feeling now? Yes, you can. Did you know you can stop yourself from thinking about the past and the future just by staying in the present moment? Yes, you can. Did you know you can write a list every day of at least 5 different things to be grateful for? Yes, you can. Did you know you can make a written list of positive things to think, say, and do each day? Yes, you can. Did you know you can do at least one thing from this list every day? Yes, you can. Did you know you can ask Spirit for guidance throughout the day? Yes, you can. Did you know you can choose to give your will over to the Spirit to do with as Spirit sees fit? Yes, you can. Did you know that you can trust the flow of your source's mind through your own mind as that which empowers you to extend love to all and everything? Yes, you can. Did you know you can do most things that you set your mind to do? Yes, you can. Did you know that if it's not happening in the present moment, it's happening only in your mind? And you can change your mind. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And so can everyone else change their mind. And so it is.
So it is.
Thank you, Christine, and Ed, and Paul, and thank you for that. And thank you, Terry. Unfortunately, I did not have the opportunity to, I spent 11 minutes with her. And I learned a lot in that 11 minutes. I learned a lot in that 11 minutes. And what I did learn is that wherever she is at right now, that she is dancing, she is doing what she chooses to do, and encouraging us also to do that as well. So, blessings, Terry. Thank you, Lisa, for guiding us in our meditation this morning. You know, meditation is, to me, a critical, or just as spiritual mind treatment is what we do as religious scientists. The philosophy that we embrace here is science of mind. And it is the basis for which we have our common conversations. But then as far as what we are here to do is to support each one of us to make that discovery for ourselves as to what is our truth? What is our own personal truth? And so I believe that along with spiritual mind treatment as a practice to align to the spiritual reality, meditation is critical for us to become aware of exactly who we are in this moment, for us to be present here and now. And I think those two together, this is a center for spiritual living. And we are here to support one another and each other in living consciously and spiritually. And meditation and spiritual mind treatment, I think, are like two wings on a dove. And so, as you've noticed, we started this year that we're incorporating a couple minutes of silence to be able to connect to presence. And, you know, I did want to say that song, I Hope You Dance, that, as we were standing and singing it, that song was my graduating song. When I was a practitioner, we had a big graduation and up the aisle, you know, cap and gown, and the graduating class sang that for the congregation. It was our gift to the congregation, so that brought also back some wonderful memories. Oh, so let's get started here. You know, there was once a farmer who had a pig. And no, I'm not going to do that one. But this farmer, he had a female pig, and he decided that he wanted to start raising pigs. That's what he wanted to start doing. He wanted to change the direction in which he was going. So he had a female pig, and he said, well, I'm going to go ahead and breed her and start. That's going to start my new farm. So he took Miss Piggy up the road and had her meet another pig, and let's see if we can get that started, right? And so the owner of the female pig asked the other farmer, how do I know it took? How do I know what just happened took? And he said, don't worry. You know, and in the morning, if she's walking around in circles in her pen, then you'll know that it's all good, you know, and then you'll just wait until you have little piglets. Next morning, the farmer goes out, looks out his window, and she's wallowing in the mud. Wallowing in the mud. So I guess we have to try this again. So he goes ahead and loads her up and takes her down the road and goes ahead and let them do their business and brings her back. Next morning, he looks out the window. She's wallowing in the mud again. What is up with this? So then one more time, let's try this. And he said he couldn't even look because his hopes had been dashed already. So he tells his wife, go ahead and take a look, see what she's doing. Is she in the mud, or is she walking around in circles? Well, she's not out there at all. Well, what do you mean she's not out there? Well, she's actually in the truck honking the horn. Now, you may be wondering, it's a great story. Great story. I'm new here. I'm new here, and I do tell those sort of stories. But you may be wondering, what does that have to do with what we're talking about here this morning? Well, it does have something to do with it. It does have something to do with it. This month, here in the month of January, our theme for the year is bringing spiritual living to life. We're a center for spiritual living. And so living consciously, living intentionally, living on purpose, from purpose, living in love and in joy, bringing that into our daily experiencing, being that in the world. And this month, the theme specifically, the message series, was about making that life, the life that's within you, making that life your life now. And each week, we have looked at how the teachings of science of mind supports us in making that life our life. We started talking about the invitation. We then talked about the instructions. We talked last week. What did we talk about last week? That was the light service. The inspiration. The inspiration. We did it on Facebook Live. Did anyone who watched that? Because we didn't. Oh, that's yeah. So it's. So we didn't have services last Sunday, and we just did. I had a talk prepared. I had to tell somebody. So I'm glad that y'all were there. Today we're going to be talking about how Science of Mind infuses us with enthusiasm, and not just any kind of enthusiasm, but it is a honking your horn for life kind of enthusiasm, where you're infused, you're ready to go. You're ready to go. Just as Miss Peggy was infused with enthusiasm. So the question this morning that we're going to be really asking ourselves is, how enthusiastic are we about living our life? How enthusiastic are we? How infused with enthusiasm are we to be and to do and to have what Spirit is calling us to be, do, and have? Let me share with you a quote from Dr. Holmes. He writes in the book, The Power of an Idea, on page 44. He says this. He says, enthusiasm is a joyful trust in life, a happy outlook, a complete assurance and confidence that there is a power within us greater than we are that we may use. It should be our purpose to awaken this joy in us again and again and again and again, and enter into the game of living, not sitting on the sidelines as though we were isolated, but on the field ourselves. It is God's enthusiasm and becomes ours on acceptance. See, that enthusiasm already exists. That enthusiasm is the life of God. It is up to us to accept it. It's already alive within us. The roots of enthusiasm comes from the Greek, entheos. Entheos. When I was in high school, I actually took Koine Greek. I'm that sort of guy. I was just a little geeky. But entheos, which means literally it means to be filled with God. So it's not just enthusiasm. When you're experiencing that and you're living that and you are expressing that and letting that out into the world, you are in fact letting God out into the world by means of you. If you're not infused with that kind of enthusiasm this morning, then what I need to ask is, what's up with that? What's up with that? Now, this isn't to blame, but really this morning, our theme is to bringing spiritual living to life, making that life your life. This isn't about blame, but it's about bringing our attention, our awareness of where are we at right now. Because from a year from now, in 2020, when we have 2020 vision and we're looking forward to the future, that's to be excited about 2020. Because, it's 2020. We can do all sorts of fun things with that phrase. But it's only 2019. I can't do a lot with that. 2019. I can't make a little phrase, one liner out of that. But in 2020, when we're looking back at the course of this year and the things that we have done, do we want to be sitting in the same pews, in the same seats, in the same position of our life, just as the year before? Mary Morrissey says that, there are many people who live 90 years. They live either 90 years or they live 1 year 90 times. That's a paraphrase. I make this stuff up as I go along. But it's the truth. There are people that, after high school, there are people who will never read another book. They will spend the rest of their life never cracking open another book. Now, what are some of the reasons why we might not be living a life infused with enthusiasm? I'm going to give you some reasons here in a little bit, but my preference would be is that as we look and listen and contemplate the quotes and the story I have for you here this morning, is that in 2020, when we're sitting here looking back over 2019, my desire for us is that we say, wow. Wow. What an adventure God had me on this year. What an adventure. I went to heights I didn't know that I could go. I had experiences I never thought that I could have. Good flowed through me abundantly and freely. I served in deeper and fuller ways than I ever knew possibly before. I loved more profoundly than I ever loved before. And I let my light shine so bright that those around me had to put on their sunglasses. That is the life that we could live if we allow that enthusiasm, that God in us out. George Bernard Shaw wrote about life, and there's no slide for this, but so listen closely to what he said. This is the true joy in life. The being used for a purpose recognized by yourself as a mighty one. Right? Recognizing yourself as being used. That's the purpose. That's the joy. The being a force of nature instead of a feverish, selfish little clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy. You know people like that, right? I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community, and as long as I live it, it is my privilege to do whatever I can. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die. For the harder I work, the more I live. I rejoice in life for its own sake. Life is no brief candle for me. It is a sort of splendid torch which I've got hold of for the moment, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations. Isn't that a beautiful description of, that's one way to live life. That's one way to live. You are burning brightly. Or you can live how many people live unconsciously and just going about the routine, living that 1 year over and over again, dealing with the same 10 pounds, starting over at the gym, right? Dealing with it. Do you get this? It's like people make the same resolutions over and over again. When do we say enough is enough? And here is my time. This is my day. This is my moment to be and to do, to let that life out, to be infused with that enthusiasm. We already are. That is the message this morning. We already are infused with enthusiasm, but are we awake to it? And are we letting that out? If we're not infused with that kind of enthusiasm, if we're not living that life, if we're not honking the horn of our life, then why not? There are a couple reasons, and all of these are, you may be familiar with them. But maybe we've just allowed our eyes to fall off of our intention and our goals and our vision. Maybe we've gotten so busy making a living that we have forgotten to live. Maybe we have let circumstances and conditions mesmerize us, hypnotize us into thinking that the urgent was more, had more value than what was truly important. I want to tell you a story here this morning, a true story of how important it is, in fact, for us to keep our eyes on the vision, to not get swayed, to not take our eyes off of the finish line. It's a true story. It's a story of Florence Chadwick. Does anyone know who she is? Ever heard her name? Well, after this morning you will. You'll know her. After the story. When Florence looked up around her, she saw nothing but a solid wall of fog. Her body was numb. She had been swimming for nearly 16 hours. Already, Florence was the first woman to swim the English Channel in both directions. And here on the 4th of July in 1952, at the age of 34, it was her goal to become the first woman to swim from Catalina Island to the California coast. That's some cold water. Here she was on that 4th of July. She was swimming and the sea was like an ice bath. The fog was so dense that she could not see anything around her. She couldn't even barely make out the support boats that were alongside of her to make sure that she had what she needed. Sharks cruised near her lone figure in the water, and they were chased off with rifles. She struggled on hour after hour, only seeing the fog. Now, alongside Florence in one of the boats, there was her mother and her trainer that were encouraging her, giving her words of encouragement. And they were telling her, not much further. Keep going. Don't give up. You're almost there. Don't quit. Hang on. She had never quit until then. With only a half mile to go, she asked to be pulled out of the water. She didn't have anything more in her to give. Still thawing her chilled body, several hours later, she told a reporter, "Look, I'm not excusing myself, but if I could just had seen the land, maybe I might have finished it. I would have made it if I had only seen the land." See, it wasn't fatigue that stopped her. It wasn't even the cold water that defeated her. It was the fog. Something not even having any real substance of its own, because she was unable to see her goal. Her eyes were not on the goal. She had lost sight of the vision. 2 months later, she tried again. And this time, despite that same dense fog, she swam with her goal clearly in her mind, and her faith was intact. She knew that she could do this. She knew that she had it. She knew that the life that was in her, the desire that she had, the vision that she had, she knew that it was hers, that she could accomplish this. Her faith was intact. And she knew that somewhere beyond that fog, on the other side of that fog, was land. And this time she made it. And with that experience, 2 months later, she became the first woman to swim the Catalina Channel. And she also eclipsed the men's record by 2 hours. Go women, huh? Right. That was her version, her new version, her making that life her life. That was her version of life. But there were 2 elements that empowered her to accomplish that goal. What were they? The first one is that her goal was pictured in her mind. She had a clear vision. She wasn't looking at the fog any longer. She wasn't paying attention to how cold the water was. She may have noticed it, but her goal and her vision was clearly in mind, and her faith was intact. She knew that land was on the other side of that fog. She knew that she had the ability to do it. She didn't question that, and she became the first woman to swim the Catalina Channel. So what does it mean to keep your eye on the goal? Do you have a goal? Do you have a vision? If you don't, if you just listen to your heart, it is always there. if we turn out the noise. This is one of the reasons why meditation is so important, that we just allow ourselves to just have equanimity towards the noises that are around us, to become present to what is right here and now, what is here, right here and now within us. That goal, that life, that enthusiasm is right there. Holmes tells us that we need to have a mental image in our minds daily of the goal or the life that we would love to live, the desire that we would like to create. He writes in The Science of Mind, in the chapter called Demonstrating the Law, on page 271, he writes this. He says, we should take time every day to see our lives as we wish them to be, to make a mental picture of our ideal. Do you know, every time I read that, I always ask myself, well, maybe when I read it, because I have it written in the margin, maybe that's why, but when I read that, I ask myself, is it a mental picture of the ideal that I'm giving my attention to, or do I have a clearer picture of what's not working? Am I spending more time talking about and dreaming about and thinking about and envisioning what I would love to have and to be and to do? Or am I spending more time talking to my friends or posting on Facebook about what's not working and how they need to change? The world would be a better place if everyone just did what I believe they should be doing. How about life would be better? Holmes says that if we take time every day to see our lives as we wish them to be. Now, of course, we have to take action on it. We have to do what is ours to do. Remember, 2 weeks ago we talked about that, about we have to take action. Have the vision, and if we're having that vision, then we will be inspired to take the action that is ours to take. And then we take it, and then when we take it and walk to the edge of the light we do have, then guess what? More light is revealed, and then we have a clearer path before us. Sometimes we sit way back here and say, I don't know how to do that over there. Well, you're not there yet. You're not there yet. So take the action based on the image that you have in mind right now. She had her goal clearly pictured in her mind, but also her faith was intact. Ernest Holmes continues on page 271. He says this. He said, we should pass this picture. What picture? The mental ideal. We should pass this picture to the law and go about our business with a calm assurance that on the inner side of life, something is taking place. God's got this. God's working it out. There should not be any sense of hurry or worry about this, just a calm, peaceful sense of reality. Let the law work through and express itself in the experience. Our part is to be ready and willing to be guided into truth and liberty. All doubt and fear must go, and in their place must come faith and confidence, for we shall be led by the Spirit into all good. Let me go back just that one part by the ellipsis. Our part is to be ready and willing to be guided into truth and liberty. See, if our eyes are not on the prize, if our eyes are not on the goal, if we're not tuned into that, then do you know what? When the inspiration comes for the action that is yours to take, you're not tuned into it. You're neither ready or willing, because when we're looking over there, we're going to miss what's the direction that's pointing us in that over there. Do you get that? This is why I have to remind myself daily, what am I thinking about? What am I talking about? What am I giving my attention to? Our faith is intact. That means that we can rest in the assurance. When we're ready and willing, then we can rest in the assurance that that law is working out for us. You know, when you know that God's got this, there is a peace that comes with that, does it not? There's a peace that comes with it. There is a peace. And it is when our faith is intact, then we can, in fact, let that enthusiasm out. You know, Christmas just recently, right? And how many kids, grandkids, who their faith it's intact. They know that those presents under the tree have their name on it. They know that the day is coming. Right? Their eye is on the prize. They know that it's coming, and they have an assurance that when the calendar hits a certain date, they know what's coming. See, if we were like little children, like Jesus told us to become, to have that sort of faith, that we can be grateful and thankful that Jesus says, "Thank you, Father, that I know you've heard me." Jesus never begged or pleaded. He had an image in his mind, and he was grateful that the law was working it out, that God was working it out. And that is what we're called to do. And when we do that, then we can be infused with that same enthusiasm. We're called to live. We're called to live, not just get by. We are called to live. We are called to let it out, because if you don't, all of us suffer. Because there's only one life, and it is showing up by means of all of us. We are in this thing together. And if you're withholding, if you're holding back and not letting that life emerge through you, then all of us suffer. We are called to live. And when do you think that might be? Now. The time is now. We don't have any other time. We're not promised any other time. I'm going to be 50. I got a big one coming up in July. I'm going to be 50. That's not a big one. I'm looking forward. You know what? My 30s were good. My 40s were better. And woo, I can't wait till 50. Can't wait till 50. I can't wait to see what's coming up. But I'm not promised that. So I'm not going to put off living until then. I need to let it out right now. And trust that the one that does the work, life, Spirit, God, whatever name you have for that, it's the one that's doing the work. As I trust that, then what I know is that we will eventually say in 2020 what I started this with. Not just going, oh, what happened? Here I am again. No. That we can say what an adventure God had us on this past year. Don't you want to say that? What an adventure God has had us on. We went to heights we didn't know was possible for us before. We had experiences we never thought that we could have. Good flowed through us richly and abundantly and easily and effortlessly. And we loved more profoundly than we've ever loved before. We served in deeper, fuller ways than we ever have before. And we let our light shine so bright that those around us had to put their sunglasses on. This infuses me with enthusiasm. How about you? Yes. And so it is.
Let your light shine. Oh, good morning, Concordia. I'm Tracy Amati, and I am your chair of the Leadership Council. Blessed be. Thank you, Reverend Allen. That was no words. So now we move into our conscious giving. That place when we say, and what we learn here is about opening our hearts to more, about recognizing that there is a flow that gives and receives. And when we consciously give, we say yes to even more in our own lives. We say yes to more for Concordia. We say yes for more ministry, more love, more joy, more abundance, beating from our collective heart. And we have many ways to give. You can pull out this little piece of paper that's in the pocket in the back of your pew. And I know that there is a graphic behind me. There's cash, of course, check. There's credit card, and that's what this is for. You can fill out your information on the back, knowing that absolutely once it's processed, it's shredded, your information is held intact, sacred as always. And there is a new way to give here at Concordia, and it's text giving. You can, and it's the instructions are on this card as well. You can dial that number. There's a little bit of setup, but once you set it up once, then from then on, you can just text whatever it is that you're feeling moved to give, moved to be a part of what we are, moved to shining the light of Concordia in even more bigger, brighter, beautiful ways. So I ask you to join in I ask the ushers to come forward, please. My heart is beating big. And so join with me together as we say our abundance affirmation. As me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate, and so it is.
You believe. Yes.
I think we have dancers added to our service
yes.
now. It should be a regular part of our service.
Me too. So let's go ahead and stand as we go ahead and have a closing prayer, and then we will have a song to follow that. So just joining together in consciousness, reach for the hand of someone next to you as we just go ahead and close this service here. Just reaching and knowing this, that God is all that there is, and that is what has been expressed here. I told you to close your eyes, then I told you to reach for the hand. Open your eyes and reach for the... Joining together in consciousness, I know that what has shown up here today is God. Do you know that? Yes. The love, the passion, the power, the peace, the joy, every good thing has been expressed here today because all that there is the activity of spirit. And knowing that, I know that activity is within us. And it is inspiring us and infusing us with itself. That enthusiasm is right here. And as we prepare to go our separate ways, I know that enthusiasm, that it carries us, it lifts us up, it causes us to shine our light so brightly that those around us put on their sunglasses. And so I am grateful today that God has shown up in the most wonderful way by means of each one of us. We are blessed. It is perfect, whole, and complete. And let's just know this together by saying, and so it is.